I have no idea how I intro this thing. I guess I'm just going to mention it, say, let me have like a little bullet point list.
Hey guys, it's Kim here, and welcome to Martin's series Stoked, where we talk about 5 things that we're each stoked for this year. There you go, that's...
Wow, that was intense. That was like really like, bam, bam, explosions. Boom, 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 boom. I feel like I just want to start this like I did the Final Fantasy one now.
Yeah. Kim,
I just want to take that.
Taking over your series again. I'm sorry. I know it's Sips who ruins things, but it's me who's ruining it, really.
No, I think if you, me, or Terps appear on any other Yog channels, then apparently we ruin everything.
Yeah, we ruin everything. We are the ruiners of worlds.
So this video is a fucking disaster already.
Yeah, we just need Terps in here and maybe Sips on kind of, phone call as well. And this video will tear a hole into the universe. So there we go.
Oh man. Well, there we go. Hi, welcome everybody, by the way. This is all one big intro. So welcome to a new thing I thought I'd do on the channel. I thought it'd be really nice. I've been watching Sips' rambles and I thought, you know what? I don't do any podcasty, long talky kind of things. And I'd really like to. So in a similar style to that, here is some gameplay footage on the screen. It's of Grow Home, I believe. I think I played that earlier today, so that probably will make the edit. And me and Kim are going to talk about 5 things that she is stoked about that have either happened in the last 30 days or are coming up in the next 30 days. And that's kind of the general format of the podcast. Not really much else to it. If you like the idea of this podcast, you enjoy it, let me know in the comment section below. I plan to kind of do this every single Wednesday, the final Wednesday of every month for the foreseeable future. So in no particular order, Kim, you don't have to have these like in a chart countdown style.
Okay, because I added statistics and everything.
Oh, really?
So how much I feel. Also, I missed the bit of the memo where you said next 30 days, and I've sort of picked things that are like this year.
No, that's totally fine, honest to God. Because to be fair, now I think about it, honestly, like I'm only really going to have 12 guests on a year if we're only doing one a month. So go nuts.
Some of those months there's nothing out. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, like when we get to like this sort of summer season, there's bugger all coming out.
It's going to be dry. It's going to be a dry season. Okay, well I'm very sorry to have I've screwed up your thing. No, but actually, if we're going to go 30 days behind us as well, then this first one that I'm going to start off with is kind of topical because it'll be Legend of Zelda Wii U. So it's the upcoming Legend of Zelda title that's going to be on the Wii U. They've said it's going to come out 2015, end of 2015, so no exact release date
I'm
yet.
still expecting a spring 2016 release. Everything gets delayed now. Like GTA Online, they're like, oh, guess what? It's April now.
Yeah.
And heists are coming on March 10th. But they specifically use the word scheduled for. So it means they can move the goalposts at any time.
Yeah.
And Nintendo, like, they don't answer to anyone, do they?
That's the thing as well. And they kind of don't announce that they're developing things. So they'll only announce at the last minute, oh, by the way, we've been working on this Legend of Zelda game since like 2005, before the Wii U was even invented. So
it's like Splatoon as well. Nobody knew what Splatoon was or where it came from, but suddenly it was like this like 3/4 done project. You're like, what?
Which I kind of like, because I think that too much information throughout the whole development stage can be really tedious. So like with Final Fantasy 15, which has been in development since forever, you're just kind of like really exhausted by the time you get to the end of it. But whereas Legend of Zelda, they're like, oh yeah, it's going to come out in 2015, and they first announced it, I think, 2013. Well, they first announced it, but they didn't say anything. They just said there is a new one coming. And then like the first time we saw visuals was E3 2014, which was that amazing like open world
trailer?
Yeah, I think it was. I didn't actually watch the whole thing. All I remember from it is like the screenshot of Epona and Link in a massive field, and because it's my wallpaper on my computer.
Sorry, we're talking about Zelda now.
Yeah, sorry.
I thought we were still talking about Final Fantasy.
No, I'm crossing the streams here. I'm crossing the streams.
You can't do that!
But yeah, so it's just, I like that it's kind of like, oh yeah, it's coming, here's a trailer, it's going to be next year.
And then we had that little dabble of him like running through like a forest and like shooting arrows at like a massive kind of... It almost looked like the thing from The Incredibles, didn't it? If I remember correctly, it looked like that, but gold-plated.
Yeah.
And then we finally have had like that video where the two like kind of like directors are sat next to a TV screen. And they're basically playing through the game and showing off like distant beacons and all that sort of stuff.
The open world. I think, because that's the thing I've always wanted in Legend of Zelda, is an open world where I literally can just get on Epona and ride around and explore and, almost not take part in the storyline. Because I love open world stuff like Skyrim and Fallout, just kind of wandering off, finding my own adventure, finding my own storyline. And the main quest is there if I want it.
Yeah.
But I like the idea that... I can just wander off on a pony, because that's what I just did endlessly in Ocarina of Time. Even though it was a really small area that you could actually ride a pony on, I just loved riding around Hyrule Field endlessly.
I think a lot of people did the same, just had like a separate safe specifically like for that. I think whenever I find a game where there is that kind of like open world and just roam aspect, I always have that as like save 2. And then like, you know, just sort of like dupe the save, or I even play through again just to specifically have it. But yeah, I'm kind of worried though, because I mean, there's been a few games that have said they're going to be open world, like, you know, they go, if you can see it in the distance, you can travel to it. Like Destiny did that, and Destiny was the most caged in experience I've ever encountered in my life. So I'm kind of quite scorned about all games at the minute. I think this is why there's this big outrage over, like, you know, pre-ordering games and stuff. It's just nothing ever seems to be quite what you think it's going to be nowadays.
No, I mean, obviously there was the big disaster. The first one that comes to my mind is Alien Colonial Marines. And Sega actually got sued over kind of the discrepancy in what the trailers looked like and what the game looked like, because there was such a mismatch in how shiny the trailers was and what the actual game looked like. And they actually had legal action approved against them, because it was fake advertising essentially. So yeah, it does. I mean, this is the problem though. Like, I don't really watch a lot of previews and trailers and stuff like that anymore, because if I know that I want to play something or I want to watch a movie or something like that, I'm invested in it already just by the nature of what it is. I try not to look into it, because I'm like, I just want to play it, I just want to see it, I don't want to know. And I find it almost is a better experience, because you don't know what's coming in it. You don't know, because you know sometimes you play a game and you watch the trailer, and then when you're playing that game you're like, oh well, I haven't seen this bit from the trailer, so I can't be near the end, or oh wait, I have seen all this bit, so I must be near the end.
That's it. And you almost sometimes like mimic the trailers as well. Like if they go, oh, if you're going to hear this really cool secret, but really now at this point it's not a secret to anybody that's picking up the game, because everybody's seen that. Are you I don't know, I've never really discussed this with you. Are you really hot on like spoilers and stuff like that? Like, because I know some people get passionately angry about them.
I obviously don't like them. If someone spoils something for me, I'm like, well, thanks, jerk. And that's part of why I kind of don't like consuming previews of things, because I like just finding things out for myself. So, I mean, I remember Batman, the Dark Knight trilogy, the movies, when that was coming out, I didn't read into any of it. So when I first saw the very first one, I was like, oh my God, this is great. Didn't even know the cast list for 2 and 3, and 3 especially, because I'm a big Tom Hardy fan. So I didn't know the cast list beyond that Tom Hardy was going to be in it. So when I sat and watched the film, and there were other characters who turned up, and other actors who turned up, and characters from the comic books as well, because I'm a big Batman comic book reader, and when I saw certain characters coming in, I was like, oh my God, it's like, wow, they've included this storyline, oh my God, and just sitting there in the cinema watching it, I was like, this is so enjoyable, just because I didn't know that these people were going to be in it, or this was the thread that they were going to borrow from, or things like that.
You do tend to find with those superhero movies, especially like kind of like the Marvel and DC and stuff like that, like they pretty much have the entire plot line laid out for you ahead of seeing the film. Have you seen what's his face, by the way, Khal Drogo as Aquaman? He is so fucking scary. Like he is terrifying.
Khal Drogo, oh my God, I'm a big fan of Khal Drogo.
He's all, I can't wait for Game of Thrones to come back. I was gutted actually that in America, did you see like they replayed season 4 in like IMAX theaters?
Oh my God, what an amazing idea that would have been.
And they did that like ahead of what will be season 5's release. I think it comes out in like April, doesn't it?
I think so,
but I don't know, I mean I've not seen any announcements that they're going to do it over here.
That's what I hate, is when things happen over in like either Japan or America, especially for our industry, like with Japanese games and, you know, American films. Like Big Hero 6 came out in America like crazy, like December,
like 6 months
or even earlier than
us.
that. And we only got it in February, and I was just like, this is so frustrating that I really wanted to go see Big Hero 6, and everyone in America has already seen it.
Well, that was the thing. We actually had a brand deal come through from like Disney and Maker and all that sort of stuff, where it was kind of like to promote like doing like selfies and things. And I think we all just ended up bailing on it just because it felt so like
we hadn't seen the film.
We'd not seen the film. All of America had seen it and probably forgotten about it by this point. Like, it was such an odd staggered release. I think any staggered release nowadays just seems strange.
It's pointless because of the kind of nature of the world now, and our kind of connectedness.
Everything's immediate now.
Everything's immediate. Netflix, it's all immediate. And I just, it is so annoying when old, like really old licensing agreements and laws come into practice. And so I was talking to my friend the other day and saying, why do we have stuff on American Netflix that that isn't on UK Netflix, and there's like more British drama and comedy on American Netflix than there is in the UK Netflix. And I was like, that makes no sense. And he was like, well, it's all down to licensing agreements and that kind of thing. And I'm like,
just
but it's
such a
bollocks, because what I'm just going to do is change my DNS, get American Netflix and watch it like that.
That's it. Everybody just gets a proxy and there you go. Like, I can set my proxy to say I'm from bloody Cuba or South Africa.
Exactly.
Like, it is that easy. And to be honest, even all the free ones now are as good as like legit paying like proxy servers. It baffles me.
And it's so old. It's such an old-fashioned like way of thinking. And even like, you know, when I did Technobabble on CBBC, so I was sharing out the iPlayer links to it so people could watch it. But loads of people were emailing me back saying, Kim, we can't watch it because we're in America, we're in, you know, Finland, we're in another part of the world, and only people in England could watch it. And I was like, it's so old-fashioned. And all of them were like, why isn't this on YouTube? And I fed back to BBC and I said, you should really put it up on YouTube or something like that, you know, so that everyone can watch it. And they were like, yeah, but we can't because of licensing agreements, and it is frustrating. I was like, but that's the problem with things now.
When they have a BBC America, I don't understand like where the problem is there. I don't know. I feel like they always complain, and like obviously the BBC is something we pay for as well. Yeah. So not to be able to access it properly. I know sometimes when you go on the BBC website, it will ask you if you're obviously a UK TV license payer. And I think sometimes you can literally just tick yes, and I don't think they're going to look too much into it. Yeah. But still, like the whole regional thing is dumb. Like I keep up with a lot of kind of the evening shows in America, so like, you know, Jimmy Fallon, Conan, and Jimmy Kimmel as well. And not being able to even just watch clips from that show is really frustrating. Luckily now, though, they seem to have made the transition on YouTube where they're making it available for everybody. Yeah.
It's just so much smarter as well, because like you've got such a bigger audience then, and that can only be better for you because it's more internationally renowned and people will buy into it. Anyway.
Like the only advantage I can see to staggered releases nowadays is the fact that it'll be trending on Twitter when it comes out in one country, and then when it comes out another, that whole country will talk about it and it'll happen again. But you don't tend to see that happening. No. And like the same with the movie The Interview, it got released obviously online because there was the whole like threat of cinemas and stuff. But the problem is they didn't release it for anybody outside the US for days. Yeah. And by that point, I think something ridiculous like 1.5 million people pirated it on like the Pirate Bay. Yeah. And it's just like, well, there you go. There's crap tons of revenue. Like I was willing to pay for it. Yeah. But they just faffed, and just everybody just ended up watching it regardless. So.
Yeah, and it's on Netflix now as well. So
it came on really quick. So they should have just done that immediately.
Yeah. But you know, I guess. That was slightly different in terms of threat by international terrorists.
Oh, yeah, exactly, yeah. That was ridiculous, yeah.
Yeah, and I think having seen the film, I don't think North Korea's got a lot to worry about, in all honesty. Like, it really has...
It actually painted him as, like, a nice guy, for, like 9/10 of it.
Yeah, and James Franco was a real asshole. Like, you know, it was ridiculous. And, you know, it's just such a childish film as well, that it just has nothing to say, you know?
What a way to go out, though. Yeah. No spoilers, but it involves Katy Perry, and not how you think.
I'd quite like to go out that way. That's how I'd go.
I think
into the night.
Nice, quick, instant, pretty epic as well. Yeah, bit of a story to tell.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, stoked. Yeah,
stoked. Yeah, sorry.
So the first
this is going to go on so many tangents.
I know, right? So the first thing I was stoked for was Legend of Zelda, and that also because I mentioned 30 Days Behind because I've been playing Majora's Mask recently. So
I've still not played it. I literally have my copy here because
oh my gosh,
I'm obviously want to Let's Play it on my channel because I've never played the game before. Or at least I've played it up until I think I've never actually completed the first 3 days because it's kind of got like this countdowny end of the world thing, hasn't it? Yeah. And I think I got to the part where I had to find the children in the town and I couldn't do it and I got angry and I just rage quit. And that was just me like playing it on an emulator. I literally have like a Nintendo 64 controller and an N64 to USB adapter because I wanted it to be filled that legit. But that's as far as I've gotten. But the problem is my Escapist series is just going on and on and on. Like every time I think I'm near the end of it, people are like, "Oh, there's like 3 DLC
there's
maps."
This now.
I'm like, "Oh no!"
For God's sake, just end. I want to play Legend of Zelda.
But like it looks pretty from what I've seen. It looks really, really good.
I'm enjoying it too much. I think I enjoy. If I was to say of the N64 games, Ocarina of Time is still my absolute number one favorite.
Okay.
But Majora's Mask I really enjoy because it's very dark. There's a very dark undercurrent through it. And it gave rise to one of my favourite pieces of horror writing, which was the story on Creepypasta.
We were talking about this the other day, weren't we?
About Ben Drowned.
I need to find the link. I need to find the link to this. So if people don't know, Kim could probably explain it better, but I'll put a link down below so you can go read it. But it is just, read it at night time as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Get in the zone, maybe play some earring music into your headphones.
So it's just one of these things which I found accidentally on the internet, and it was from Creepypasta, and it was basically just some guy on a forum posting some things about this game. Hey guys, I've got this problem at the moment. I just thought I'd get your kind of piece of advice on it. Yeah. And the way it's written was so natural and normal. It took me a while to realise actually this is a piece of fiction, or is it a piece of fiction?
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, he starts off and it's just like, I've got this weird bug.
Yeah.
And then it kind of snowballs from there as like the bug develops and wording in the game changes and all these other kinds of things that naturally couldn't happen. Yeah. And I think he initially got the game off like a car boot sale, didn't he?
Yeah, from a yard sale, and from an old man who had a box of Nintendo games.
So this is why it kind of adds to the creepiness. Yeah. Like the game wasn't just retail; it was. Yeah. It had almost like this backstory.
And it was
of its own.
The label was scratched off, and it just had like Legend of Zelda written on it in Sharpie.
Oh dear.
And the whole thing, and it had a save file on it from Ben. Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
And that's all I'm going to say. I don't want to say any more. Yeah. It's well worth a read. And it's.
I don't actually remember how it ends, so like when I find the link, I'm probably going to sit there and finish it myself.
I know I'm going to go home and read it again tonight because it's one of my favourite things to go back to. And actually, people have added to it since it went out and finished.
Okay.
So they have added to it and kind of continued the story. And I'm not going to say how, but it's a fascinating piece of work, and I really enjoy it. So yeah, just look out for that. Ben Drowned.
It's very, very good.
Speaking of horror, I'm going to move on to the second thing.
Oh, is this only number 2?
Right, yeah.
Jesus, okay.
Yeah, and that's going to be, well, it's not quite horror, but it is vaguely horror themed, and that's Invader Zim, the comic book that's going to come July 1st. So I don't know if you've ever heard of Invader Zim.
It's an old cartoon, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's a cartoon from Nickelodeon, from the mind of Jonan Vasquez. Now, I first encountered Jonan Vasquez when I was a troubled goth teenager.
Were you a goth?
And yeah, I was a dirty goth kid.
Are you talking like guy liner or like proper like thick eyeliner type stuff?
Proper all out,
oh my God.
Big new rock boots and leather coats, and yeah, that used to be me. And Jonan Vasquez used to write Johnny the Homicidal Maniac comic book series, which also spinned off to, I think it was Squee, which is like a side character and stuff like that. But anyway, they're very dark kind of horror comic books about a guy who's a homicidal maniac and has to kill people to use their blood to paint a wall down in his basement with blood so the monsters stop coming through.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And so this guy was given a Nickelodeon series.
Yeah.
Way!
Sure.
About Invader Zim, who's an alien race whose job is to invade other planets.
Yeah.
And Invader Zim was actually a failed one, so they sent him to planet Earth just to kind of get rid of him because he was really kind of try hard and getting it wrong. And so it's all about his escapades on planet Earth, trying to kind of take over the world, but obviously failing because he's just so inept. And
he's like a little green dude, isn't he?
Yeah, the little green
dude.
He's
got like his pink dress on.
Yeah.
I just like Google imaged it to have a little look at it. It's been a while since I looked at him as well.
And he's partnered up with Gur, who's like a little robot who wears a little dog outfit to kind of as his...
and it zips all the way up, doesn't it? Yeah, this is all coming back to me now.
I love Gur so much, where he's just like, I made it myself, and he's just, oh my God, he's so cute. He's so dumb, but so cute. And
I think I've seen lots of different kinds of fan art as well of Gur, as like, they've basically redesigned what the zip up hoodie is. Yeah. And they've got him as like, like Batman and Pikachu
and all
these
so
other
cute.
things.
But to me, it baffles me that Nickelodeon ever gave Jonan Vasquez the power of being on kids' TV.
Nickelodeon and cartoons back then were very different. Like if you go back and watch like Ren and Stimpy
and Dexter's Lab,
Rocko's Modern Life, or Angry Beavers, all those things. Like I think in one episode of Rocko's Modern Life, he works in like a call center, like a sex line.
Oh God, yeah, he does, doesn't he?
There's a thing where there's like a poster on the background and people knew what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I've been watching like various other things. Like even I watched Sabrina the Teenage Witch the other day. Yeah. And there are so many adult jokes inside of that I just went whoosh straight over my head as a kid.
But now
and I
you're
watched
suddenly
it now and I was like, I've got a second level of appreciation for this.
So what it's been been announced, because basically Nickelodeon cancelled it after a second series, but it's always had like a cult following. It's so dark, really dark. But yeah, Jonan Vasquez has finally announced that he's making a comic book series of it, which is going to launch July this year. So I'm really excited for it, because it's definitely, I think it was 2002 was when the last episode aired, which is weird because I remember it like yesterday. And so really looking forward to that.
Oh my god, that sounds good. I might actually have to check that out. I'm still kind of on the fence as to what kind of reading I like to do. I've been really into manga for a while now. Although, to be fair, I've only really been reading One Piece. Yeah. Just because you can buy it as those like 3-in-1 volume books. Right. Which are handy. But yeah, like Nina sent me for Christmas, she got me a Guardians of the Galaxy kind of graphic novel.
Oh, cool.
And I've never really read a graphic novel before.
Oh, right.
So that'll kind of be a first. Other than her one, which is called La Latte, which is actually really good. Yeah. Like, I really like it. It's her and her partner who sort of wrote the story and drew all the art and stuff. But yeah, like comics is one that I've never really delved into. Well,
Guardians of the Galaxy is a good place to start because it's quite light-hearted, quite fun, quite sassy, and I definitely recommend that as a good place to start. I've read so many times.
Have you kept them all, or is it are you kind of like a read and bin sort of person?
No, I keep them all. I keep everything. I've got not a great big collection, but I do have a lot online as well on Comixology on my iPad. Yeah. And I'm looking into a new thing called Scribed, which is sort of like Netflix, but for books, audiobooks, and comic books. So I'm thinking of subscribing to that. So I'll have a look, because they'll do like single issues, which I think is a great idea, because otherwise you just burn so much money on single issues. Yes, and I'm really impatient. I need to read the whole thing now. I hate waiting for the next bit. But talking about manga, let's move on to number 3, which is something I think you'll like, is Persona 5.
Oh yes, let's geek out.
Let's geek out. About Persona 5.
Again, this is very much like Final Fantasy. You know the Persona series like
inside out.
Yeah. Whereas actually Persona, I didn't really start playing until last year. Yeah. When I got a PS Vita, I was looking for like RPGs or just general games for it, and Persona 4 Golden was just like the big one that everyone was talking about. Yeah. So I gave it a try, and I just fell in love with the series instantly. Like I almost dare to say that I think I've got more of an attachment to Persona than I do to Final Fantasy. Yeah, I see what you mean. Because I think it's more story driven. Yeah. It's easier for you to learn like little kind of like internal thoughts and kind of like personality traits of the characters, because it is such like it's almost like an interactive story with kind of combat in between. Yeah, definitely. It's so much more heavily involved about what they're doing in their day-to-day life as well. But yeah, I like it. It's cool. I think in some ways Persona almost has ruined Final Fantasy for me. Yeah, a little bit for me. Yeah, because obviously I've played all of the Final Fantasies, and I got up to about 12, which was when Persona 3 and 4 came out, and it overlapped with 13. And like you say, the kind of interaction you have with the school kids and with their relationships and with what they're doing and their lives. When I went back to Final Fantasy and I was like, I can't do any. I have no influence on these people. They are, and Square Enix have a story that they want to tell. And I'll be honest, the story in 13 is so convoluted and shallow, ultimately shallow, that you just don't care about it. But you start really caring about the people in Persona 3 and 4, and like just the little intricacies and the kind of. I think the story for me that stands out is their kind of tackling of a kind of rather butch guy, a stereotypical alpha male, and a bully, coming out as gay. I thought that was amazing. Yeah, like, I didn't see it coming. I thought it was so good, because he was kind of like he's kind of like the naughty kid at school, isn't he? Yeah, and he's like sort of been seen hanging around with like a biker gang. Yeah, he's the bad boy, and he's bullying other people, and he's got a real gruff exterior. But then they're really playful with it as they go on, aren't they? Like where he kind of like blushes around certain people and stuff like that. And I thought that was really cool. Yeah, I thought it was quite sensitive, the way they do it. His name was Kanji, that was it. It was just driving me nuts what his name was. And also like just some of the characters just really surprised me. And actually, Persona 3, that was when I was still on official PlayStation 2 magazine, and it's the only game that I've ever given a 10 out of 10 score for. Wow. Like, hands down, 10 out of 10. And when they came out on the PS Vita, I thought, what a fantastic game for the Vita, because it suits it so much, the kind of drop in, drop out, being able to save a lot more frequently. And also they introduced a female protagonist, so you could mix up the relationships a bit more. And
they introduced a few more bits and pieces, and I actually ended up reviewing. So I reviewed Persona 4 twice. Once for official PlayStation when it was out on PS2 and then
of course, because this was a re-release, wasn't it, from the PS2
so again
for the
on the
Vita?
Vita.
Right, got you.
Yeah, and I still gave it a high score because I thought the Vita adaptation. So not only was it a port, they added things to it.
Yeah.
I thought it was really good. Like the inclusion, the stuff that they added was really, really good. So Persona 5 is due out later this year. They haven't announced when, but they've said like end of the year possibly.
Hope so.
Yeah, and it's mostly the same thing in that it's a schoolboy and he's at Shujin High School and he meets up with friends and it's going to be about his life with his school friends and school life, but it's different in the sense that he's actually a cat burglar.
Right.
So,
okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know this part.
Yeah. So he's been going around as a cat burglar, and he and his friends carrying out heists. So I think we're going to be carrying out heists, and I think that will be really, really fun.
Yeah.
Not a lot else has been announced about it.
I mean, there was that one trailer, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Which again is like such a perfect demonstration of just how visually pleasing.
Oh God, yeah.
Their stuff is, and the music as well. Like every song in the Persona, like it's kind of like Naruto, the TV show. It kind of has a very limited soundtrack, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. As soon as you hear the cue of a certain track, you know exactly what emotion they're trying to convey and what kind of mindset they're trying to put you in. And yeah, Persona 4, like the intro, like the opening title screen for that is like this kind of like weird. I can't even explain what it is. It's not a music video. It's more like a sitcom opening, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a bit. It's
really
very
weird.
Slick. It's very, very slick. And
even
so
the menu
stylish.
system as well is just like very nice to look at.
I think all three of them, Persona 3, 4 and what will be 5, are just so slick and produced. And one thing that I was really excited for was Persona 4 was turned into an anime series. So I think season 1 and 2 are available now.
Oh my God, I'm
so you'll have to download it.
Is it the same voice
to
actors, or?
I'm not entirely sure about the whole thing. I think it is. It must be the same voice actors, but it is kind of an expansion of that world. And then there was like the explosion of other Persona 4 games. They had like Persona 4 Arena, which was the beat 'em up, and Shadow of the Labyrinth, and Dancing All Night, which is the rhythm action game. So I just love that Persona has become so the full name is Shin Megami Tensei Persona blah, or Devil Summoner. So Shin Megami Tensei has always been a long-running RPG series in Japan, but it's 3, 4, and 5 that have kind of focused in on the new kind of way that it is, because it was always based around school kids, but it was a bit more like Pokemon in the older ones, and a lot more like top-down, turn-based, that kind of thing, whereas the modern ones are more... I don't know, there's just a lot more to it. There's a romance sim, there's a life sim.
The romance sim and the life sims are really good because they're basically like the stronger your relationships are with certain characters depends on like certain like, I don't want to call them aeons, but you know, like characters you bring along with them, they basically get boosted, don't they? And they're a lot stronger. And when you combine cards to make like different like creatures, and like that whole card system is fantastic, by the way. Like it seems like it might be overwhelming, but you pick it up like so quickly. But yeah, the whole like dating sim thing is quite funny actually. Yeah. Because it'll literally be like between going to, I don't know, like going to drama club or going to basketball. Yeah. So you can either go bro out or you can go like woo like the acting girl. Yeah. And there's even that weird thing in Persona 4 Golden, isn't there, where they like go to the main city because it's based in like a rural kind of like countryside town. Yeah. And they like
Japan.
go into the city just purely to try and pull. And I thought that was a weird mission.
But it's kind of funny though because they did it in a very light-hearted way, and I think the thing that I enjoy as well is that not just that we can kind of what's the word, like kind of engage with it because it's sort of similar to our dorkish lives in high school and kind of like the eternal tussle with the opposite sex and hanging out with your friends.
They're all pretty useless, aren't they? Like I don't think any of them successfully like managed to even get a number or even as much as a hello.
That's pretty much me as well. But what I love is like the look at Japanese life. So just little things like, you know, going for noodles or going to the karaoke bar or in the school having the kind of area where you put your shoes in because you walk around school in slippers. Yeah. So you put your main shoes in, and then some of the after school things that you can do are different to over here. And I think I just really loved that. I loved seeing the kind of slices of Japanese life. And so 4 was in a kind of rural village, and 5 is going to be in Tokyo.
Like the city centre, like right in the heart of it, isn't it?
So I think that's going to be amazing to see. And I love Persona. I love it. And I'm so excited for it.
I just looked up the sort of like the animes on Wikipedia. and it looks like the first one was called Persona 4. The animation came out October 2011, finished March 2012, and then it looks like the second one is just called Persona 4: The Golden Animation.
Okay.
And that finished airing on the 25th of September 2014. So yeah, it's quite a recent thing. I bet that's going to look just as gorgeous as the game does.
It does. It looks. I thing is, I downloaded it to go and watch it, but it's one of those things where I just never got around to watching it. But I just thought it looked absolutely beautiful, and I think because they have a sort of 2D anime style, it looks gorgeous, like, and it's one of those things that are just it's not gonna date, like it's gonna still look stylish even though we're like 10 years in the future. And
it is very forward designed, isn't it? Like just like the way the menu system looks and kind of like the real boldness of colors as well. It's hard for that to ever dim just because it's so like vivid and just like vibrant and right in your face.
I like the weirdness about it as well. So you have the mundane things like doing your homework and babysitting and stuff like that, but then you just have the weirdness of like Teddy when Teddy becomes a human. Sorry about the spoilers, but that is the greatest moment. And he's just like he's a MILF loving like Lothario, and he just loves chasing after older married women and making them embarrassed. And I was just like, oh my god, he's just this. The
whole bathhouse, the entire bathhouse like dungeon, if you want to call it that. But I don't think that's an appropriate word to use. But that whole thing was just creepy, and it's like when Kanji is essentially like coming out, and there's this whole thing. Because if you never play Persona, essentially each of the dungeons is when one of the kids gets kidnapped. And then it's kind of like whatever true property or value of themselves that they're repressing and not showing the world, this like outright highlights it. And it's only until they accept it that they can actually be freed from that dungeon, and you can take on the boss and stuff. And it's just the bathhouse.
It's so good. But it's such a brilliant way to kind of explore these topics. So what was the guy? It's been so long since I've played. And so there's Yosuke, and then who else was there? There's Chie, who was the like kung fu loving girl. Yukiko, that's it. So Yukiko's one was she was a princess because she was essentially trapped in this village looking after her family run hotel, which was like a kind of traditional Japanese bathhouse hotel. And she was trapped having to grow up really quick and look after this hotel and run it. And basically it was insinuated that she was never going to be able to leave this village, even though she wanted to go and see the wider world and do a different path. So her kind of inner world, as it were, was this kind of castle where she was a princess and everyone feigned attention on her, and she got her moment to shine. And I thought that was just so brilliant because here's someone who's so repressed in real life that she can't be free, that her inner self is demanding attention and demanding to be free and wanting to be out there. But then they also kind of flip that on its head as well, and they have it's Risei, isn't it, the pop star? The pop star. She's basically a pop star who comes back, and it's almost kind of like the reverse of that. Like she's kind of tired of it all, and she kind of just wants to live like a normal life. But like that, those games are just so good. I need to finish number 4 actually. I've not gotten too much further past where Teddy turns into a human. Oh, you've got some amazing things turning up, like when Teddy enters a beauty contest. Oh my god. Okay. I'm down with that. You're down with that. I'm hooked. Okay, so that is number 3. Oh my god, we're taking our time with this. We're doing okay. We're doing okay. We kind of got like an hour to do this, so we've still got like 25 minutes to 2. That's okay. Or 3. Well, I don't know where to go next because so many choices. Do you know what? I was going to talk about Final Fantasy 15, but I think, in all honesty, like you can kind of get our excitement for that in our Type 0 videos that we did recently. Definitely. And in all honesty, like, again, I did that thing where I didn't look at any of the trailers because, again, this is a game that I have been waiting for so long. I was writing articles on it when it was still Versus 13 back in, oh god, I don't even know when now, like 2008? Earlier, it must be 8. I think you told me 7 or 8 in the past. And so I've waited a long time for this. I tried to figure out how many words I'd written on Final Fantasy 13, the whole series, and then Versus 13, and it's it's like a dissertation's worth of words that I've written on this. Thousands. So I'm almost tired of talking about it now because it's taken so freaking long. And it's probably not even the same game that you initially wrote about either. Exactly. That's the main thing about it. The fundamentals are there, but I mean, it's changed development team, it's changed director, it's changed direction, and it's just, I'm very excited for it. I can't wait for it to come out. but at the same time, I'm sort of a bit exhausted in talking about it because I've written so much about it, and we're so close. Like, so the demo is coming out with Type 0.
It is, yeah.
And so I'm looking forward to that. But I think beyond that, I can't really put into words anymore why it is I'm excited about this game.
You're just gonna like ridiculously binge on it.
Yeah, I think
I just hope the demo is gonna be long enough. Like, I hope it's not just gonna be like this tiny, like almost like kind of like sequential kind of story thing, like we've kind of been forced through with other Final Fantasies.
Yeah.
I hope we do get that open world exploration that they've really kind of been like pushing home about.
I'd say, knowing Square Enix and knowing their staff and the kind of history that they've had with Final Fantasy, I don't think it's going to be that. I think, again, it's going to be a case that they've got a story to tell, and they're going to tell it in a very strict way. It's going to be almost the opposite of Persona 5, where they kind of let you explore it and discover it in your own terms, which it has its merits, has its dismerits, advantages and disadvantages, So, it depends if they do it right, because Square Enix have done it before where they've told a story and it's been linear, but they've done it right and it's been engaging enough and you love the characters enough that you enjoy it, and that's cool. But I'd say that they dropped the ball massively with 13, the whole 13, 13-2, 13-3 series.
It's a little bit crazy. I mean, I know Kai swears by it, like she absolutely adores it. And I've played quite a chunk of the first one. I'm making my way through the second one at the moment.
Yeah.
And I think I played Lightning Returns when it came out, but I just felt so in the deep end.
Yeah.
Even if you watch those videos where it's like, right, here's it explained really simply.
Yeah.
And the video's still like half an hour long. It's just like that and Kingdom Hearts, because I've just started playing Kingdom Hearts this past year, because obviously number 3 is out this year. So I'm kind of preparing for that, because I kind of do want to delve into that franchise, but again, it's just a lot of story and a lot of side games.
I once was commissioned to write a 2-page article summarising the story and the world of Kingdom Hearts, and at that point Kingdom Hearts 2 and some of the spin-offs had come out, and I started going into it, and I've played them, but not all of them.
Yeah.
Especially not the spin-offs.
I've
played them, but even then, I was just kind of gathering information on all of it, on all the spin-offs, on Birth by Sleep, 365 days,
something like that. And then there's like Chains Remix, which I don't even think is a game. I think that's just like a collection of cutscenes or something like that. And
so there's that. I'll tell you what, Martin, there's a whole history I could tell you about it, but that's another video. But I tried to summarise this into essentially 2 pages, and it nearly drove me to suicide, because I was just like, normally this kind of article would take not so long to write, like half a day to write.
But when you've got got like an overabundance of content and you're trying to condense it, but without condensing it so much that you don't actually mention something,
out, and then I would condense it. Because then people would just
bitch about it.
Yeah, and I would try to condense it, but then there would be this character that I need to mention in the next one, why it's so important, because it's the thing that didn't have, and it gave me a migraine.
And even the wording is confusing. So you've got like the heartless, the nobodies, and when nobody has a heart, then they become a heartless. And it's just like, that makes no sense.
Honestly, that is
grammatically, it's horrible.
Out of my whole writing career, that was the one article that drove me to tears and frustration, and I almost went back to the editor and went, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. But it's in PSM3, if any of you remember that.
PSM3, is that a magazine?
Yeah, PSM3. It was an unofficial PlayStation 3 mag, but it was still owned by Future, so Future had like official PlayStation mags and Xbox mags and unofficial PlayStation and Xbox mags. But yeah, so just, and I felt that with Final Fantasy 13-1, 13-2, 13-3, like they just totally lost the plot and the whole time traveling thing. I would challenge anyone to summarize the plot of 13-1, 2 and 3 in 2 pages.
Two sides of A4. Font Arial, size 12.
And
go
to the point that it makes sense. It isn't just garbage, because
you've got the Fal'Cie and the Lassie.
So I hope the storyline in 15 is a bit more cohesive and a bit more kind of followable, because that's the key thing with JRPGs that last 50, 60, 70 hours. You have to want to be there, and I lost that with 13. I really lost that need to kind of be there, which really upset me, because like I said, I'm the biggest Final Fantasy fan. There's a reason why back in my kind of journalism career I was always called on to write about JRPGs, and that's because I knew all of them. I played all of them. I knew the history behind them. I knew the animes that went with them. I knew the Japanese culture that went with them, and that kind of thing. But so, like, in some ways, I love Final Fantasy. There is some that I can talk about until the cows come home, and I can talk to you about the development team and the history behind it. But 13, especially, having spent so long writing about it, reviewing it, and then meeting all the dev team and flying out to Japan and seeing how they work, it just lost it for me. It really lost it. So I really hope 15 will swing it back.
I'm kind of hopeful though, because everything they've shown from 13 so far is like 4 pals, and like, you know, it looks like it does have that kind of like group dynamic that Persona has. So I'm kind of intrigued. I don't know if they're doing that just to kind of like please the masses, like, you know, at least one of these 4 people you're gonna like. But Persona was always kind of like a group unified thing,
and you could pick and choose.
That was it. Yeah, it kind of had like that J-pop, K-pop kind of like approach to it. So
and I
guess we'll have to see.
I think that's the thing that really bummed me out about 13.2 and 13.3 was that they got rid of the whole party system. So you know,
it was always kind of you were doing it in pairs, or 3 at the utmost.
Yeah, 2. So 2 was just Vanille and what's his face, and like whatever Pokemon that they'd sorry, not Pokemon. Monster that they picked up at the time. And it was just like, when do I get my party of, you know, and even in 13 when you had a party of 6 and that was all you had to play with, and I was like, I remember back in Final Fantasy 6 when I had a party of like 12 that I could mess around with and customize and like, you know, so I really miss that ability to kind of have a nice diverse group of people and in the case of 7, animals to play with. I really miss that.
Oh, but yeah, 15 should be good. We'll have to kind of decide what we're going to do content-wise, because I think, I don't know, like if it is very heavily story driven, it's going to be hard to kind of commentate over that, isn't it?
I'll be honest, I'm not going to cover 15 on my channel. I think it's a game that I want to play in my personal time and take my time with and enjoy. And I just think, given how much story is going to be over it, and I kind of don't like talking over cutscenes because you know, I like people to enjoy it. So I don't think I'll be doing a Let's Play series. And again, as well, it's just one of these games where I want to play at home. I
think doing a Let's Play of like the full game is nuts. I think you probably Let's Play the demo, because I reckon there are going to be limitations in place. But the actual game, I mean, I've Let's Played other RPGs, like, I mean, even just like Zelda games. They're not as extensive as Final Fantasy games, but that was still good, like 50-60 episodes. Ni no Kuni.
Oh yeah, you doing Ni no Kuni, that was insane.
But people just like, they were latched, like as soon as people watched it and they got about 3 episodes in, the numbers just like held there until the entirety. Obviously, if I see a series like, you know, falling and tanking, I'll kill it. Like, you know, Final Fantasy 10 actually, the HD remaster of that, the HD raster. Final Fantasy. But no, I tried playing that last year, didn't go down well, so after like 2 episodes, boof, gone. So yeah, I think long form Let's Plays in general on YouTube nowadays are a more difficult
They're difficult to
thing
feel
to uphold.
out.
People want those one-offs with like, you know, funny like close-ups of the face when you pull a weird expression and music, and just like, it has to be more punchy, doesn't it? It's just the way YouTube's gone. God
damn, I remember YouTube in my day a year ago.
I remember when we used to be able to have channel backgrounds, not channel banners.
Oh my god.
I was around before the one channel design, okay?
Wow.
No, not even the one channel, the before Cosmic Panda.
Oh my god.
Before, I remember when Box for Box was a thing.
Back in the day.
Box for Box. Old school. Were you doing YouTube back in Box for Box?
No, I joined, well, my channel was set up 2013, so I was just before they switched to the one channel design.
Oh, okay, cool.
Which was frustrating.
Even Cosmic Panda was still okay, because you had like a background. But, oh man, we could rant all day about Google.
Oh man, these goddamn YouTubes with their YouTube and their Minecraft.
I remember the Minecraft panda sneezing. I remember Charlie bit the chocolate man's finger, or chocolate rain. They're both different things. I don't know. We get senile as YouTubers. Drives us mad.
My memory's very short nowadays, which is why I've got a list that I wrote down.
I've got like a notepad file just like up on my screen here.
So we've done 4 now.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
this is the 5th and final one.
I don't know what to go, because you said we could do anything, and I sort of realised that at the end of this I've got more games than anything else. And
like,
I've only got one comic.
I've got like a backup list just in case, and I've kind of got like 2 games, Final Fantasy being one of those. Grow Home was the other one, which is kind of on the screen now, so I guess that eliminates those 2. So my only 3 left are a video, a song, and a channel that I've been watching. But those are for the end, that's fine. Okay,
so well, I could either go film or I could go game.
Totally your call.
I don't know what
are each of them? What's the film and what's the game?
Okay, so the film, well, actually, it's 2 films, but they were kind of like light, frothy options that I chose.
Okay.
So the film, I'm going to get so much hate for this. It's Terminator Genesis.
Right. Okay. And what's the other film?
It was going to be Mad Max Fury Road.
Right, okay.
and the game's No Man's Sky.
I've not heard of the game. I've heard of the game.
Okay, shall I do the film so I can do like a 5A and like a 5B, which is because the film is going to be very short. It's going to be a very short discussion. So Mad Max Fury Road. I love the Mad Max series. Last year I went to go see a double bill of Mad Max 1 and 2, and oh my god, they are very different films. And
I've never watched them.
Oh, watch 2. It's hilarious.
Okay.
So it's Mel Gibson naked. Well, not naked, but
naked?
No. He's not naked. He's just wearing
a
lot of leather.
Can I Google this?
It is. You can Google it.
Okay, Mad Max 2. Here we go.
A dystopian future where the whole world's gone to hell and everyone's fighting over oil, and there are mad gangs roaming the kind of Australian wilderness.
Yeah.
Trying and in 2, they're all trying to attack this kind of self-made village that has like one of the last oil tankers ever.
You know what? I think I have seen. Is there a really like epic bar fight in one of them?
Probably the first one.
Unless maybe there's a different movie that has a very similar theme, but like this is bringing back a lot of memories.
There's no bars left in the second one.
Unless you think of a different film, then there's like a massive circle table in the middle of the bar and there's a chandelier.
No.
They go crazy.
This is all out in the open of the Australian outback in the wilderness.
Oh,
But so Mad Max 3 is it's called Fury Road, and it stars Tom Hardy, who I love. And I think he'll do a fantastic job. And I saw the I'm very wary of kind of modern day either reboots, remakes, or sequels or prequels, because so far they've all been bad. Prometheus, bad. Transformers, bad. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, bad.
Yeah, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was terrible.
Yeah, just everything. Ghostbusters, undecided, because I didn't think it should be a reboot. I thought it should have been a sequel or a continuation.
Is this the one with the full female cast?
With the full females.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that, actually.
Don't get me wrong, I am not saying it shouldn't have full female Ghostbusters. I think it's amazing. I think that's really what the series needed. But what I didn't want was a reboot. So it's going to be a reboot of number 1.
A new story.
It should have totally just been a continuation, and like Dan Aykroyd or Bill Murray was kind of teaching, or like the old wizard mentor or something like that. Handing the gauntlet over to the kind of new girls, who are doing the Ghostbustings.
Yeah.
What I didn't want was a remake of the first film. The first film is fine. It doesn't need a remake. We don't need to hear this story again.
It seems like there's such like a slowdown nowadays of like new IPs.
Yeah, so
whether
we're just
gonna games or movies.
Yeah, so we're just gonna dig everything up and do it all over again. One thing is
reanimate the corpses.
Yeah, if you want to see something shocking, take a look at films that have come out this year and last year and see how many of them come from books. Okay?
Right,
Because I guarantee you, pretty much there's a high percentage, I'd say 80% come from books that have already been written. So, there really isn't anything fresh coming out at the moment.
Well, there's even a category at the Oscars, isn't there, for books made into films, I noticed when I watched it.
Yeah, because there are a lot of them.
Or short films that have been made longer and stuff.
So it's surprising how much just comes from books. So Mad Max, really looking forward to it. It looks right. The trailer looks right for it.
I'm currently watching the trailer as we're like chatting away.
It looks good. And I miss old action movies. I love 90s actions, 80s, 90s action movies, which brings me on to Terminator. Huge fan of the Terminator series, 1 and 2.
Yep.
Can take and leave 3, 4 and Salvation. Again, Salvation I thought was dreadful.
This is another one of those things where it's a series that I've watched, but I can't recollect it for anything. Like, if I were to watch them, I'd be watching them fresh.
Yeah, but so I don't like 3, 4 and Salvation with Christian Bale. Yeah. It was a total waste of time. But I was ready to hate Genesis, especially because it has a really stupid spelling. It's Genesis, Genisys.
Yeah, I'm just noticing this now as I search
was
it.
Ready to hate it, but then I saw a trailer, and in the trailer I went, oh.
Oh, hello.
Okay.
This actually has Arnie in, doesn't it?
Yeah, so it's got Arnie in. And the idea is that, so it starts off kind of in a way that I was like, oh my God, this is going to be so bad.
Yeah.
Where it's a super militarized future. One guy gets sent back. I think it is actually Connor who gets sent back. Yeah, so it is, he gets sent back to, he sends Carl Reese back. So it's sort of going over the first film again to save his mum.
Treading gently on that rehash territory.
And I just remember the line from it was like, my mother's going to be scared. She's going to be weak. You're going to have to be strong for her. And I was like, oh, for God's sake. And then he went back, and the first thing is Sarah Connor just bursting in with a truck, and she's like, come with me if you want to live. And she's kick-ass, and she's amazing, and she's fierce. And it's just like, basically, the whole storyline's been changed because the Terminator is sent back a T-800 to kill her when she was a kid instead of when she was a young woman. And so she's been an orphan brought up by a Terminator who was reprogrammed to protect her. So she's actually grown up with Arnold Schwarzenegger as the kind of friendly AI helping her out.
Okay.
So it's not her kind of being weak, and which I thought was originally going to happen, was it was going to be like, oh, Sarah's weak now, because Sarah Connor's always been such an iconically strong character.
That's it. Yeah, she's always had that survivability, and I've just realised it's Amelia Sarah Connor, as in Khaleesi.
No, it's Khaleesi.
Oh my God.
And also, it's got one of my favourite Korean actors as the new Terminator, the T-1000, who is Lee Byung-hun, who you probably know him from G.I. Joe, Rise of the Cobra. He's thingamajiggy in that, one of the Cobras.
Is that your Arnie impression?
But also he's in Red. So he's doing a lot more Western films at the moment, but I know him from Joint Security Area. I know him from The Good, the Bad, and The Good, the Bad, and the Weird, which is a really funny kind of Western, is a Korean sort of take on Western, like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Yeah. He's in Red 2 as well.
Yeah, he's in Red 2. So he's definitely one of my favourite Korean actors. So when I saw him being the T-1000, I was like, oh my God, this is going to be great. Like, because I know he can do it, like,
I've just
really,
seen the
really
trailer
well.
now, and his arms just turn into giant blades.
He's terrifying in
epic.
it. So I am actually quite excited for it, despite my original kind of like, this is just another reboot, it's just another rehash. It's, literally in the Wikipedia page it says reset the series, acting as a sequel, prequel, and reboot. So it's got all three of my pet hate words in it.
God no.
But it does. There's something about it that just caught me from that trailer. So I'm gonna give it a chance. I'm not
going with an open mind.
Yeah, I'm not ready for it to wow me, but maybe. And it actually comes out on July the 1st, which is when the Invader Zim comic comes out. So if that sucks, then I still got Invader Zim.
It's gonna be a nerdy day. You just cry into your comic, let the ink spill from the page.
This is a bad day for everyone. Oh my gosh.
No.
So those are my two guilty pleasure movies. There are obviously lots of movies that I'm looking forward to this year. But those are my kind of guilty pleasure because I love my 90s action films. So that's my kind of action film nostalgia fix. And the last one for me, the kind of 5B, was No Man's Sky.
Okay.
Which is a game coming out this year, and it is done by Hello Games, who actually are known for Joe Danger.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah, Joe.
Yeah,
okay.
The little bike game, the stunt rider game.
Is that the one where you're getting dragged along by your ankle? Or am I thinking of a different one?
No, you're thinking of a different one. This one's Joe Danger is a bit more cartoony, tricksy. It's like playing tricks and stuff like that.
Oh, okay, cool.
So I think it's coming out on PS4 and just PC. I'm not sure. I think because it's an indie studio, it's a smaller studio.
Yeah.
And the idea is No Man's Sky. It's featuring a kind of what they call a procedurally generated open universe.
Everything's procedural nowadays.
It truly is, because like I've seen a lot of trailers and gameplay of it, and it really is different game to game to game. And the idea is you go out and you're an explorer, and you go out in a spacecraft and you explore the whole universe and just get lost, and you engage in combat and you find new fauna and flora and dinosaurs and crazy creatures.
This again has that grow home, like kind of open world vibe to it.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at a trailer now, and there's dinosaurs on this like desert island, and then they're on like a kind of like a snowy tundra kind of mountain top in another one.
Yeah, it looks fantastic. It's got a really nice art style to it. And I think what sold it to me was I saw like an E3 demo or something like that, where it was 10 minutes of gameplay from which they took off from one planet, went all the way into outer space, landed on another planet, and it was in a totally different environment. And I was just so blown away by how seamless it was. Like there was no loading time or anything like that.
Oh, damn.
And it was beautiful. And because I love sci-fi and I love science, I love looking at the sky, it just, to me, it was born actually out of the developer kind of going, when I was a kid I wanted to be an astronaut, so I've made a game about being an astronaut.
Like real proper passion projects where they just really kind of like give their heart and soul into it. Like that is their one game that they're going to make. They'll be happy if it sinks or sails, and they've just done it because they wanted that end product.
And I like seeing this kind of game because I like people who still kind of take risks of like, it's not an established series. It's not, it's not Call of Duty 600 or, honestly, Final Fantasy 5000.
I think with the strength of the indie community now, I think more people actually seem to be looking towards those games.
Yeah.
I think these kind of like serialized games like Call of Duty and all these other kinds of ones, people are just kind of switching off very quickly now. And generally, like kind of like the action and FPS scene, I feel, or at least for me it has, it's just died out. Like even like Titanfall, it was one that I'd play in an event and stuff, but I just didn't bother with it.
Yeah, but I remember reading someone's article saying that like they reckon the Minecraft generation would really dig this because it does actually have a lot of similarities to Minecraft's procedurally generated and kind of explore your own world, make your own path, that kind of thing. And they kind of compared it to Call of Duty and said like kids would actually probably find more parallels in this with their love for Minecraft than they would Call of Duty.
Yeah.
And also for me, just a kind of secret bit of kind of nerd love is the music. The soundtrack to it is done by 65 Days of Static, who are one of my favourite bands. So yeah, really looking forward to it.
This looks really, really good, actually.
Yeah.
I've now got that on my favourites.
I'm way excited.
I'm gonna make sure
excited.
I've literally, like, pretty much everything that I've looked for a trailer for is just kind of on, like, PlayStation Access. So I'm just gonna grab all of those different URLs and put them in the description. Oh, man. That's crazy. So is that 5 films?
That's 6.
6?
Well, 7 if you split the 2 movies.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God, son.
So, like, I think I still throw mine out there. So we've already covered Grow Home and Final Fantasy. Another one I think you'll find really handy, actually.
Yep.
And I think anybody who's a YouTuber will, whether they're wanting to become a YouTuber or if they already are one. But the Game Grumps, they created this new channel called Grump Out. And the first video that they uploaded it was Barry, their editor. And he actually goes through the editing process for an entire episode of the Game Grumps. And it's just so handy. Like, if anybody asks me in the future, how do I do this? How do I do that? Like, how do I make videos? And, like, a lot of people don't want to make that transition from Vegas to Premiere Pro.
Yeah.
Like, even people here in the office, so quite stubborn about it. And it frustrates me to no end. Because all our editors use it, but then the content creators don't. It's like, headache.
I use Premiere as well, like, because I guess I came from Final Cut actually, and then went to Premiere. So,
see, but that's a closer like comparison, isn't it? Whereas I find Vegas so like Windows Movie Maker but with multi-track. Like that's how primitive it feels to me. But no, the video is really good, so I'll put that below if anybody wants to make videos or if you want to find a couple like tips and tricks, then that video is really good. It discusses everything from like shortcut keys all the way through to like nesting and multi-tracking and all these different kinds of things and like keyframing, stuff like that. The other one, which I thought was kind of interesting, was he's a friend of ours, like kind of mutual friend through Dan Bull. But there's a guy called Dave, Boy in a Band, and he released a song called Don't Stay in School, and I just think it was just like everything. I was like, yes, because the whole song was basically just about things that he learned at school that he no longer uses, but things he wish he'd known. Yeah. So like I literally just took a bullet point list from it. How to get a job, paying taxes, how to vote, current events, knowing the laws. Like, you don't get taught that. And like human rights as well. Apparently there are 30 human rights, and I couldn't recite you a single one of them.
True that, actually.
Money, stocks and trading, like the one thing that actually powers this entire planet. We don't get taught any of it. We learn numbers, but not actual like money and, you know, mortgages and stuff like that. Basic first aid, we don't learn that. We learn how to dissect a frog, but not how to patch ourselves up. And then just kind of another one as well, which I don't think would be crazy applicable, but even if you just did one science lesson on how to detect certain diseases or even like mental problems as well, like just things like that would just be like super handy.
Looking after yourself, really.
Like actual applicable life skills.
Because I definitely found that really frustrating, sort of, you know, in the adult world, was dealing with taxes and what does this mean? When I did my first tax return, I was like, why did this never get taught to me? Like, why is it so?
I've still yet to do it. I've literally it baffles me so much that I have an accountant that does it for me. Like I can't.
And I try and ask the accountant, can you explain this to me? And she's like, well, no. And I'm just like, why couldn't I just learn this in school? Like, this is infuriating. And I was having a bit of a rant the other day about the general election, and because that never really gets taught in school, sort of how the government runs this country and how people get voted in and what it means and what it means to be left-wing and right-wing and who are the Conservatives, who are Labour, who are the Lib Dems, who are these people and how do they affect our lives and what do you do in an election? I don't know what I'm meant to do in an election. I just wait until letters turn up, you know, with increasingly serious font on it going, you still haven't registered, we're going to sue you if you don't, you know, throw you in jail. And I'm like, oh God, why?
I think I only initially registered to vote just so my credit rating wouldn't take a hit. Like Kai got really angry at me, and rightfully so. But when it came around to voting last year, when like the BNP were like looking quite hot on actually getting into thingy, I just was like, I'm not bothered. I'm not going to bother going vote. Like, I just don't feel like it has an impact.
Oh my God.
And also because I didn't understand it as well, and she just went off on me, and rightfully so. Like in the end, I was like, you know what, you're right. I'm going to go vote, and I did. But even then, still didn't really explore it properly.
And even then, you don't know the whole voting process. You don't know how do you register, when do you go and do it, where do you go and do it, what do you do when you go, just even the basics of what do I do when I go in there.
Yeah. Because it's a very secretive, and you go into booths and all that sort of stuff. Like, it's so strict about only ticking one thing and all these other kinds of things.
And it's a bit intimidating. Like, you can't just ask the people as well, like, what do I do? I don't know, what have I done it right? And they're like, oh, you've spoiled your ballot, and you're like, oh God, I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's quite scary actually. Like, to do it.
And my problem with this general election is I have no freaking clue what I'm voting for. I don't know who. I don't know what anyone stands for. And everyone goes on about the general election coming up. I'm like, can someone tell me what they stand for, like what they believe in, or what they're doing, what they're going to do to the country? Because I'm not seeing anything. I'm just seeing people slagging each other off, and I don't know any of this. So
that's it. The House of Commons is such a lad like environment. Like, I've watched videos from it, and even if it's not a video highlighting just kind of like how sexist or kind of like, just locker room vibe it is,
just an everyday video of like everyday business, like,
and you see it and you just think, God, like, grow up.
And well, that's the thing, you watch those kind of, like, sometimes I flick onto like BBC Politics or whatever, and they've just got like a live cam of what's going on in the House of Commons, and I'm like, what does any of this mean? Why are they standing up? Why are they shouting? Why do they keep standing up and sitting down? Like, what is going on here? Like, this is weird.
It's like you can make one jab at somebody and you'll have the whole like crowd behind you go, like, screw him.
And some of them will stand up and then sit down, and it's like, what does this mean? Like,
not a clue.
And
I think the one thing as well is like current events. Like, I think teaching us about, I don't know, Egyptian times or all these other things, or teaching us about something like something that's actually applicable to us and maybe still ongoing today. Whether that be something to do with like race or religion,
what's
or
going
something
on in the
like
Middle
that.
East. Like, exactly, because I couldn't tell you. Like, and I'm a well read up. I read current news and I read up on these things, but I still can't figure out what the hell is going on in the Middle East.
As like a school kid, probably the only thing you're going to learn about anything to do with like war or anything like that is just going to be the kind of the sensationalized version of it in the news. It's going to be like the absolute dramatics and like the really, really scary parts.
Blockbuster films like American Sniper.
But I guess it's because you can't exam people, can you, on current events?
Yeah, but you could still engage people in it.
Well, that's it. Like, they do have, I mean, when I was in school, we had like I can't remember what it's called now. It was just basically like a session with your tutor group, which, they did things like sex ed there and stuff like that. And that was kind of like a more general atmosphere. And I don't think I got enough of that kind of stuff.
Well, that's the thing. Is like, I think school sometimes, education is so focused on teaching you what came before us and what could come in the future, that they don't talk about the now and how to apply the things that you learn to the now. So, like, how do you apply science to now? How do you apply maths to now? How do you apply language to now? Like, sometimes I think language, like, it gets, especially some of the teachers I had, like, learning French, was just killed by this kind of fusty, old way of learning it. And I was like, well, can't you teach me in a more vibrant way? And I thought I was dreadful with languages, but, like...
Asking for the, like... I can't remember, I think this was on the Rooster Teeth podcast. They were saying that that asking for the library, who would ever do that? Nobody's going to ask to go to the library in a country where they don't speak the language very well, because you're not going to be able to read anything in there. It makes no sense.
But honestly, the best way I've learnt languages was when I moved out to Shanghai, and my teacher actually took me, so I had extra lessons so I could kind of catch up with everyone. My teacher would actually take me out to a restaurant and make me
you
order.
Learn by living in pretty much anything, to be fair.
And she'd take me to the market so I could kind of haggle with marketplace people and stuff like that, and to the shops. And I learnt really fast, and that's the way to do it. But when you're kind of sat in a schoolroom reading from a really old textbook, where to ask where toothpaste is or something like that, where is the town hall, you're just like, I can't see myself using this.
Yeah, and the thing is, when it comes to language as well, like even Dave in his song, actually, I completely forgot about it. He mentioned that pretty much every other country in the world, almost every single one, speaks a minimum of 2 languages. Yeah. We only speak one just because...
It's the main one.
Because American media, and it's like with it being slightly more predominant, we don't kind of have a need to do that. Anywhere we holiday at, they speak English there, which is great. So we are kind of lazy about it almost.
Well, my mum is Malaysian, born in Penang, and she was taught, I think, 3 or 4 different languages in school.
Wow.
Just because, so you speak Hokkien, which is a dialect of Chinese, and that's the main dialect in in Penang. So you speak Hokkien, and then she was taught English in school because obviously it's a popular language. And then she was also taught Bahasa, which is the official language of Malaysia, and also Mandarin, which is the main dialect, Chinese dialect. And then she was also taught European language, so she was taught French and then later on Spanish.
Yeah.
So that's 7 languages right there. And when I listen to her speak now, especially when we're in Penang, and because there's such a multicultural influence of people and languages there, she will switch between languages just like that.
Just it's second nature to do it.
And it's just, you know, I said to her once, what language do you even think in? And she's like, But yeah, like in this country, in UK, we just learn English, and then like you kind of go through the European languages, but it's all taught in such a way that you're just like, oh, just kill me now.
That's it, yeah. It's so much of it is non-applicable. It's like sciences like isotopes and learning about sedimentary rocks and all these different kinds of things. It is pointless. Like I actually challenged a lot of it when I was in school.
Yeah.
Like if I didn't understand the application of it and how I would ever use it, I wouldn't refuse to do the work, but I'd be quite reluctant to kind of like strive to do better in it. Like kind of a really well worded way that somebody put it. I don't know where it was, but somebody said that school's really good at training you to remember things. You can memorize the answer to this question, but you don't sometimes actually understand what it is.
Oh yeah.
You don't understand the full process. You see the in and you see the out, but not the actual working to the in between.
I'll be honest. I remember reverse engineering GCSE exam papers by going through the old GCSE exam papers and basically memorizing them. And 9 times out of 10, the same questions or the same sort of questions would turn up. So I'd know exactly what kind of areas to study or to like how to phrase my answer. And I'm pretty sure I remember my A-level drama teacher teaching us, like, because she said the theory exam for this, because it's A-level theatre studies is a bit more kind of, there's more weight to the practical side, but the theory side, they pretty much ask the same question every single year.
Yeah.
So she would have us as homework write our answer out and then improve it and then memorize that, and then when the answer comes up, you just write exactly the whole thing out again, which I did, and I got 100% in my theory test at A-level.
Okay, I guess that's one way of going about it. Jeez. But then the thing is like if they threw a curveball in that year, you probably would have been buggered.
Yep. I'd be like, I can't remember this. Oh no.
Man. So it is that weird thing, isn't it, of just kind of what do you do? Like, and again, like it only gets more complex when you actually leave school, because then you've got to really kind of specify the topic.
Yeah.
But also as well, that's kind of a blessing, because you might have been learning about 5 different subjects you just did not care about. And when you go to college, you can finally like hone in on your passion.
That is what school is good for. It's kind of introducing you to everything, giving you a good grounding, so that you go, okay, I'm actually quite interested in physics. I'm quite interested in geography. I'm quite interested in this. And you can kind of start to feel your way around what suits you and what you're interested in. And what fascinates you.
It's a little bit disappointing though, because you might find one absolute thing, like, you know, you might find that you want to be an artist. That is it. That's your goal. That's your passion. And the fact that you kind of have to appease all the other ones to get the grades to actually go to college to do one topic. Like, that's what I find weird, is that you need such a widespread academic kind of like standing to then funnel it down to maybe one topic. Like, I still find that process quite jarring and quite weird. But
then they also say as well, school and college is not necessarily for everyone. So like some people are far better doing a more practical time thing, like apprenticeship, you know, and kind of going out to the, or a college course that's a bit more hands-on and practical than theory and paper and writing and that kind of thing. So there are pros and cons to school. I just think, you know, I think a lot of it also depends on the teacher you have. If you have a teacher who can make things relevant to you, can explain why knowing about, you know, elements or, you know, oh my god, like, you know, Walter White in Breaking Bad. He was so good at just that. I really enjoyed the segments that they had where he was just teaching and he was able to relate why something was important to what we did now. And I find that kind of teaching brilliant, and that's what you need more of, is a good teacher who can tell you why learning something really boring like, you know, elements or igneous rocks and stuff like that is actually relevant to what we do now and how we associate with life. But at the same time, please, can someone tell me how the hell to do my taxes?
Just please, for the love of God. I'm actually really, after watching that video, I'm definitely going to go and look up the human rights thing. Just as kind of like a general knowledge.
Yeah.
And I think as well, like in the UK, I always realise this, that we don't really know much when it comes to, I mean, I couldn't tell you what the national anthem is, whereas in America, they ingrain that stuff a little bit harder, don't they?
Yeah.
It's much more kind of like bread and butter.
I probably know more of the American national anthem than I do the English.
Exactly the same. Exactly the same. Like, you know, I watch the Super Bowl, I can sing along.
Yeah.
If I watch like an England World Cup game, I get you probably like 3 lines in.
Yeah.
And that's about my lot. That's all I can handle.
I'll tell you what's embarrassing. I could probably sing the whole Canadian national anthem thanks to South Park.
Yes. I'm probably good as well. Oh
my
jeez.
God.
We're terrible
We are
people.
horrible human beings.
We're awful role models. Stay in school.
Stay in school.
Do all
Ignore
that
what
sort
we
of
just
stuff.
said. Stay in school, for
That's
the
it.
love of God.
Ignore the last 20 minutes. I'll pretend we lost it in the recording.
Yeah. Ooh.
Oh man, there we go. So I think that's it. There you go.
Oh, my
Episode
gosh.
1 of the Stoked podcast. Let me know what you reckon to it in the comment section below. Give us some feedback. As many links as possible will be in the description to all the different things we spoke about. Sorry, my last one. I forgot about Funhouse. They used to be the Inside Gaming Daily team over at Machinima, and Machinima's done quite a lot of cuts. And I don't know what happened with them moving away, but they have. But they've joined the Rooster Teeth family, and I just think the channel's really good. I like those guys. I think if you enjoy gameplay videos and stuff, and you like some pretty solid comedy, then go and watch that. I'll specifically link you to their channel, as well as a show that they appeared on Rooster Teeth, which is called On the Spot, which is like an improv comedy show. And the game that they play, where they have to give definitions to Urban Dictionary terms, is crying. Like, I was literally in tears of laughter at that.
I love Urban Dictionary.
It's brilliant. We actually got a word on there a little while back. Pined, I think it was.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's nothing like special, but it's just we were playing GTA on Little and Cubed, and every time you smash into a pine tree at a high speed, you go, I got pined.
I got pined.
And literally, like, it seems like nowadays, if you say in a gameplay video, someone should put that on Urban Dictionary, you'll go there next week and it'll have like 500 upvotes and be like the supposed official term for it.
Yeah.
Someone might have a way better application of it, but we've just kind of squatted it with YouTubers' rights and stuff.
I'm just looking it up now. I'm checking to see if you're. Yep.
There it is.
Dude, I was riding my bike in the mountains in GTA 5 and I got pined so hard.
I guess pined could even happen if, like, you were just, like, dirt biking in real life. I guess it doesn't even have to be GTA specific.
Yeah,
but,
it could just be IRL.
But yeah, how many upvotes has that got? Or how many, like, ratings?
770.
Wow.
Yeah.
And only 9 downvotes. I mean, I love that. Is that a microphone so I can actually, like, dub in how it's supposed to be pronounced? I would just go, pined.
Pined. I got pined so hard. That sounds like something else.
I got pined so hard. Add a real accent to it. Oh, well, there we go. Thank you, Kim, for coming on.
Thank you for inviting me.
We had a blast on the Type 0 video, so I thought this would be perfect to have you on as like a guest. It was really good. So next month, if you all enjoy this, I already have 1 or 2 people lined up that said they want to be on this, so that'll be exciting. Go check out Kim's channel.
Oh, yes.
That is Yogscast Kim on YouTube.
Thank you very kindly.
And we will see you all next time.
Bye.
Bye.